different times.
Nice. We can start whenever you're ready.
Good evening and welcome to regular meeting of the City of Morgantown Board of Zoning Appeals. Please turn off all cell phones or other devices that may disrupt these proceedings. It is the duty of this board to consider requests for relief from the requirements of the city's zoning regulations, to consider conditional use permit request, to hear administrative appeals. Board conducts business in the following order: review, amend, and approve minutes of the previous meeting. We move to unfinished business, take up new business, and conclude with announcements from staff. Each request is heard in the order that it appears on the agenda. For each conditional use and variance request, the following is done. We will introduce the agenda item, and the planning division will present a staff report which may or may not offer a recommendation. The applicant agent will be asked to present their justification for their request, which may include questions by members of the board. We will then open a public hearing to hear testimony in support of or in opposition to the request. Rules regarding public testimony are as follows. Anyone wishing to testify during the public hearing may do so once recognized by the chair, or may, in lieu of oral testimony, submit written testimony to the chair. All recognized speakers must approach the podium, state their name and address for the record, and speak clearly into the microphone. All comments must be addressed to the board. To be relevant to the application and may not be of a personal nature or personal attacks. All speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. If members of the board have any questions of the speaker, that time will not be counted toward his for 5 minutes. If there is a large number of speakers, including many who are part of groups or organizations, I may, to avoid repetitive comments, elect to ask for a representative to speak on behalf of the group or organization. Speakers are notified or reminded that irrelevant comments or comments of a personal nature or personal attacks may result in the speaker forfeiting his or her opportunity to participate in the public hearing. I may elect to recognize the applicant agent at the end of the public hearing to provide rebuttal or additional comments, which will be limited to an additional 5 minutes. If members of the board have any questions of the applicant agent, that time will not be counted toward the total 5 minutes. After all testimony is heard, I will declare the public hearing closed and no further public comment will be permitted. Uncivil, unruly, and or disruptive behavior at any time during this meeting is prohibited and will result in removal from this public meeting. State law requires the board to consider findings of fact for each conditional use and variance request. The request cannot be granted unless the majority of the quorum present finds the positive of all of the findings of fact. The board may elect to continue the hearing to another date if it needs additional information or further deliberation. Applicants and requesting parties will be notified in writing by planning of the board's findings and conclusions, regardless of whether a request is approved or denied. Decisions of the board and the appeals to the Circuit Court of Montague County within 30 days upon receipt of the written notification from planning. Any work done relating to decisions rendered by this board during that 30-day appeals period is at your sole financial risk. Thank you for your consideration and respect for these proceedings and the opinions of all meeting participants. We're going to call this meeting to order. We've got the roll call. Ms. Cook?
Here.
Mr. Misspell?
Here.
Mr. DeWitt?
Here.
And Mr. Benson is present. We do have a quorum. We ordinarily take an opportunity to review meeting minutes from a previous regular or special meeting. We do not have.
Yeah, that'll be at next month's meeting. We'll review those with the ones from this one as well.
Right.
That'll be the next month's regular hearing.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to proceed to we have no old business to take up, including consideration of meeting minutes. We, in the interest of facilitating moving through the agenda in an expeditious but due process manner. We are going to, shift one of the agenda items. So I make a motion to, and this is referenced in the current agenda, GCU 14-11-10-202, 202 High Street, West by 10-202 for conditional use regarding restaurant private club name change, transfer in compliance with action letter and approval from 2014. City Tax District 11, Second Ward, Tax Map 26A, parcel 142, in the B4 General Business District. So I'm making a motion to move this agenda item G and make it agenda item A.
I second.
So, and this is in the interest of just facilitating and moving agenda along. So we have a motion seconded by Mr. DeWitt, Ms. Cook. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so the motion carries. We are going to move that as the agenda item. So, yeah, I described the so agenda item, Mr. Thompson.
So on agenda item G, now moved to A. It is for 202 High Street. This is a restaurant, private club use. And when it originally went to the BZA, it was also approved and voted through. There was a condition put on it, however, that if it was to ever be transferred or a name change was to occur, they would have to come back to the BZA and have that kind of process redone. So this is them coming back for that. There is no major changes to anything that's going on there, and the applicant, if they're here, can speak on behalf of that a little bit more. Once we get to that section of it, there is, I believe, a copy of that action letter in your packet, as well as additional documentation, just kind of showing where it's located, the building, et cetera, in the addendums section of that report, as well as the findings of fact for that conditional use.
And it's just a name change transfer. There are no
Yes.
physical changes, modifications.
So the best of my knowledge, correct. There's a couple copies of, again, the previous writings for it, but otherwise their hours of operation are pretty much staying the same. Restaurant private club use is staying the same. It is just a name change, ownership transfer, the best of our understanding.
And it's do we want to just speak to, in terms of the financial reportage requirements have changed, and that's referenced in the original action or the original letter.
You can reference it if you want.
It's not really necessary to include it as a condition or anything.
I don't believe so. No, with any of the additional changes for it.
Yeah, because it would be
On
our
there.
own business. It's
Yeah.
a name change.
Yeah. And maybe if there was a grander scale change, maybe, but at least for what, for their conditional use, I don't think it's necessary.
Do we have a representative for this case? CU 14-14-10-202, 202 High Street?
Hello,
Hello.
I am Lauren Collins and I will be taking over ownership of this location. And so change of ownership is to me by LLC, Lauren Collins LLC. And the name change is gonna be to 10-2, but outside of that, nothing's changed. The restaurant is completely the same as far as bar seating, booth seating, all that sort of thing. And we're just hoping that we can move this process forward with the people. That's why we're doing.
Right. Any questions? Thank you.
You're
We may have questions.
Oh.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
You're welcome.
The findings of fact are straightforward, it's just a, so. I'm going to make a motion to. Do you have any questions?
Yeah.
No. We're gonna make a motion to accept the findings of fact as referenced for CU.
Public meeting.
Oh, that's right, we need a public hearing. That's right, I'm sorry.
All good.
Yeah, so we do need to just do due diligence. So I'm gonna open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak, and thank you, in support of or in opposition to this case, CU 14-11, 10202, 202 High Street. Now's your opportunity to do so. Is the ambient noise levels that will turn?
It's not coming up on this, so that's okay, but
It's really,
we'll have to leave it open a little bit.
so people know that we're in.
Yep.
Okay. Anyone wishing to speak in support of or in opposition in this case? Seeing no one, we're gonna close the public hearing. Thank you. I move to accept the findings of fact for CU 14-11, 10202, 202 High Street.
Second that.
We have a second for that motion. All those in favor of accepting the findings of fact for the relevant case, say aye.
Hi.
Aye. I move to approve the requested conditional use name change transfer for the reference case CU 14-11 to 202 High Street. For a second. Second. So we have a motion to grant the conditional use. And we have a second from Mr. DeWitt. Thank you. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. So we've granted your request.
Thank you.
You will receive written notification from planning, typically 7 to 10 business days. But it's stated at the beginning of the meeting, this, our determination can be appealed to the Circuit Court of Montague County. And any work that you do during that 30-day appeals window, you do it for some financial risk. Thank you very much. We are going to move to the next agenda item, which is now an item Z. This is conditional use of CON 25-070, James Morrison, 709 High Street, request by James Morrison for a conditional use regarding a fraternity or sorority house used for section 1331.05 of the city's planning and zoning code for permitted land use standards. City Tax District 13, Second Ward, Tax Map 26, Parcel 160.1, single and two family residential district.
The applicant is seeking a conditional use permit regarding a proposed fraternity house at the above referenced address. Refer to the sections of code below in the packet as well as the layout of the structure, their attachments. Up on the screen, there is a generated map kind of just showing where the property is and the surrounding 200 feet radius for notifications. And then there's more in the packets themselves, but this is the general kind of layout of what this frat house looks like. Kind of showing some bedrooms, different hallways, outside paddings. But there's more detailed packets. And so in an R2 single and two family residential district, a fraternity and sorority house requires conditional use. And in summary, the applicant wishes to get a certificate of occupancy for a fraternity house at 709 High Street. Please see the attached application to review the findings of fact listed. As staff have had no comments or modifications to these, this attachment can be found below the conditions. Staff have no objections to the applicant's request for conditional use. If the board grants the applicant conditional use approval in accordance with the city's planning and zoning code, the use shall be subject to the following condition, which is our kind of standard condition, being if any other modifications or changes to the site plan It would have to be compliant with the city's planning and zoning code, or they would come back and seek an additional variance, if applicable, regarding this property. And then that kind of concludes staff report.
Wasn't this property fraternity once upon a time?
Correct, yeah. It's, to my, best of my knowledge, it's always been a fraternity. There was and the applicant, if they're here present, can speak more to it. I believe there was either some changeover, if who was responsible for running it or owning it. And along the way, they didn't have a CO or it expired, or something to that
They
effect.
didn't lose it from negligence or something.
Not to the best of our knowledge now. It was just, it did not do that.
Was it rental, like in the intervening period?
I don't believe so, but it was also before my time, so I'm not sure. What it was previously, other than through correspondence with the applicant, that it was a frat house previously.
Right.
And they're wanting to just get it re-CO'd, redone for, frat house. They're not doing any work, related to this property, related to this conditional use of the property.
And there are no parking
Nope.
challenges.
No, they have, parking that is there, on the property.
All right.
It's already being used. as a
Yeah,
practice.
correct. So this is, before going and, you know, the city wants to work with them, you know, they go through the process.
For how long?
Well, based on how this meeting goes, if it's denied,
But how long has it been being used that way?
I don't quote me on it, but at least probably a little under a year, at least for this semester, and then getting like prepped into it over the summers when we've been working with them to kind of get this together, to get it here. And they had to get, you know, paperwork and, their site plans and stuff together for this. And that's taken them till now, so.
So the city's been in the know the whole time.
Yeah, we've been working with them at least for sure since I've been here, starting the beginning of this year. We were talking with them, trying to get them on the agenda for the BZA to get it looked at. But just due to delays on both kind of ends, this is why they're here now instead of before the school semester.
Do we have a representative for this case? So I get for this. Any?
I mean, I don't know much about fraternities, but I know that there's some charters and stuff. Are they actively doing fraternity things while not being like a licensed fraternity? Is that?
Has the charter been,
So the best of our knowledge, the city or the frat is like a recognized, they're through WVU. They have- Can't remember what exact one that they are, but I've talked to them a couple times and they're kind of seemingly all through recorded and properly documented as like an active fraternity. And
so it's been rechartered?
I believe,
by WVU.
to the best of my knowledge, yeah, it's still an active.
It's a supposition. I'm thinking that,
Boot them to the next one.
that's what I'm gonna say, because, we have a lack of information here.
It's up to the board, so got to vote on it. if
There's
that's
nobody
what you
here,
wanna do.
there's nobody here that represents.
And then it,
Just speak to
I
that.
think it's a little weird.
yes, the address. Yeah, so I say
I
we,
move to continue this to the next meeting, since there's not a representative.
second, because lack of
I'm
information.
surprised that there is. All right, I'll second that motion.
I mean, I'm curious if there's been like congestion issues since it's been used that way,
Yeah.
but there's nobody to ask.
Yeah,
And there are no documented parking issues, but do we know that to be the case?
All of that area is parking issues.
Well, but we don't know if what they're anticipating for this is gonna
Right.
potentially.
Impact that streets, traffic, et cetera. Sure, that's already, I think they're already experiencing it. It sounds like they're already living there and doing the.
Yeah, it's already being used that way.
All right, so we have a motion to continue. Do you need to speak?
I was just gonna say motion to table for Matthew and then seconded by Cook. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
So we have a motion to continue this to the next regular meeting by Mr. Misfeldt, seconded by Ms. Cook.
But is it also worth, possibly saying that, I don't know if it's where we do this, but say that next semester, like whenever, like we're having four be released for next semester, kind of thing, since it's already, how far are we into this semester? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, does there any sort of?
I don't think we should, we're
No, that's-
not in a position to
Yeah.
make any determination regardless of which.
Okay, I'm just curious how we would address that, if it like. There.
Let's,
Okay.
the representative selected not to send the
No, I agree with you guys.
delegate, so not in a position to do the deliberation. Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Misfeldt to continue this and put it as an agenda item on the next regular meeting, seconded by Ms. Cook. How do we vote?
Aye.
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 So. Unanimous. Right, we're gonna move on to the next case, which is now agenda item C, VAR 25-074, City Neon, 479 Van Boris Road, request by City Neon for variance relief from section 1369.08 of the city's planning and zoning code regarding lighting and design standards, city tax district 1574, tax map 6, parcel 64 in the PRO, professional, residential, and office district.
So for variance 2574, here's a much like the last one, showing where the property is located as well as that buffer zone where we send out correspondence with it. And then here's a kind of rendering drawing of what the signage would look like. On the right, you can see where it has the measurements as well as where it'll be located on the building. The applicant seeks to install an internally illuminated sign at the above referenced address. The sign will be 255 inches by 23 inches on the front of the structure and refer to relevant sections of the code below, which are copied in the packets. In summary, the applicant wishes to construct a wall sign with internal illumination at the above referenced address. The applicant is requesting variance regarding allowing internal illumination in a PRO district. Please see the attached application to review the findings of fact listed, as staff had no comments or modifications. This attachment can be found below the conditions. The staff have had no objections to the applicant's request for this variance relief. If the board does grant the applicant their variance relief from section 136908 of the city's planning and zoning code, the sign shall be subject to the following conditions, and it's the one standard condition that if they are to change or modify anything submitted, it has to be compliant with our code ordinance or be brought back to the Board of Zoning Appeals or adjusted to be in line with our ordinance. And then that'll conclude staff report.
Do we have a representative for this case? Two. Thank you very much.
What you think? I am Mike Bennett. I am here on behalf of the church and City Neon. The only,
Can you just you just stated an address?
oh, I'm sorry, 1095 Chapel Hill Road.
Thank you.
Yep. Other than the illumination, everything design wise and structure wise is to code. The only thing that we're asking for is about the illumination. I know the code references only neon, and that's just not the norm anymore. I mean,
Right.
neon, we do fluorescent LEDs almost everywhere.
Right.
I mean, I think in a radius of that, maybe 2 miles, there's only 2 signs that actually have neon in them. The rest of them are LED or neon or fluorescent. So
Right.
we're just trying to get it back with form.
But there's existing signage. Can you speak to,
I'd prefer to speak to that instead of him.
well, but by all means, do you wanna speak to that point at all? Just,
On the existing signage?
I mean, you could both be at the podium together, that's okay. But we would like you to state your name and if your address differs.
My name is Glenn Dodson. I'm the chair of the trustees. the Methodist Church by state law, we are the owners of the building. And if you see there, that's on Van Voorst. From University Avenue to that section, you can't see our sign.
Right,
There's two big pine trees that blocks the signage.
right.
So what happens is, there you can see the curve, and where that road turns, that's to the medical center.
Right.
So the amount of traffic that goes through there and every day, especially Monday through Friday, on a football game is significant.
Yes.
One of the things that happens is people will tell people come to the medical center, look for the Suncrest Church, and you're going to turn. Well, they can't see the sign. The lighting we're proposing will just, the lettering we can do, but the lighting, they'll be turned off at midnight. Oh. And they're not on all the time, just like the lights for the steeple, we automatically turn them off at midnight.
It would be on a time.
Yeah.
On a time.
Yeah, to the timer, yes, sir.
And
That was one of my.
We don't have any control or guidance on that. but-
not necessarily, we do, but we have a sensitivity to that. The other thing is that's important to note is, can you go back to the other picture? Yeah. Where you can see the Methodist symbol there, that's a daycare center. We have over 100 kids there.
Yeah.
It's a critical area. There's no daycare centers unless you start going to Star City. We have over 100 kids there. 1/3 of those kids right now are low income. We're supported by state subsidy. They don't even pay the full bill, but we believe it's the mission of the church. So that's another reason we want to do it, so it's easy to find it. If somebody doesn't know where they're going. There's a road right to the left there that goes up to the parking lot. The main road into the church is where the traffic light is, where you turn in to go to the medical center. If you're coming the other way on Van Voorst,
Right.
you can see the sign. There's no problem. But if you're coming from University Avenue, the Coliseum, you come that way, which most traffic for the medical center comes that way, they don't know who we are. And if you remember, you passed three other churches on Van Voorst.
Right.
Up there.
On the same side.
The other thing I'd point out is, because if I was living there, I'd have a concern, is that lighting going to affect us? That lighting shoots over to the park beside the Alumni Center, so there's no housing there that again causes any kind of light pollution.
Yeah, I was curious as to why you used, neon instead of LEDs, which he, as he was mentioning. that-
He's the expert.
Yeah.
You told him that.
The law is, it states neon in the law. It doesn't state anything about LED, or that's the reason I think that we're here.
It's not they're gonna use LEDs.
Yeah, we're using
Oh,
LEDs,
okay.
which is, yeah, not, I apologize.
Yeah.
No, we're using LEDs in it, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the thing we have illumination is.
Oh, you can see it. Okay, I just.
We can still have grant.
Okay, thank you.
So we see it as a public service, we see it as a safety issue.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean, the precedence has been set by countless people before you, so I think.
yeah, it's just our zoning. If you go right, Hampton Inn right beside us, from there all the way out, every building's lighted, but our zoning.
Well, anything that's gonna enhance, like from a wayfinding standpoint, because not only are you on, it's just a very busy road.
Right.
But you're also directly across from the medical center, which complicates things in terms of traffic flow for even further. So anything that's gonna ameliorate that is a benefit.
You guys do like the daycare drop offs are like right there too.
That's the front.
Right in front. too.
Or they can walk the side and park and come down and get their kids. That is the entrance. And that entrance, those doors, I call it pixelated, but you can't see in for safety. So everything in that building is over safe, safety protection. But we need to be able to help with where it is and what to do.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Discussion, I mean, owning the plan, very straightforward. So,
It's the same as everything else. Same.
and let's go ahead and, there's no further questions, open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in support of or in opposition to this case, VAR 25-074, City Neon, 479 Van Boris Road, now's your opportunity to do so. Seeing no one, we're gonna close the public. Motion to.
Second.
So we have a motion to accept the findings of fact for VAR 25-074. Seconded
I didn't.
by Ms. Cook. For the record, all those in favor of accepting findings of fact, say aye. Aye. I move that we grant the requested variance for this case.
Second.
And we have a second for VAR 25-074. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we've granted your variance. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank
You made some excellent points. Before you go though, written notice from planning, 7 to 10 business days. Keep in mind, it can be appealed to the Circuit Court of Montague County.
We won't flip this switch.
Okay. And then, but I just want to state any work that you undertake in that 30-day window, you do at your sole financial risk. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. We are moving on to VAR 25, this is agenda item D now. VAR 25-076, John Espinoza, 731 Wells Street. Request by John Espinoza for variance relief from section 1365.04 of the city's planning and zoning code regarding minimum off-street parking requirements, city tax district 13, 5th Ward, tax map 26, partial 370 in the R1A, single family residential district.
So for variance 2576, like the last ones, here's a map showing parcel where this is located as well as that buffer zone. And then additionally, just kind of closer zoom in the picture so you can see a little bit more of where the house is, the topography, how the size of the lot, stuff like that, a little bit of in a clearer way. So the applicant seeks to remodel a residential building at the above referenced address. This will be a 1-unit structure with 3 bedrooms. Refer to the relevant sections of code below in the packet. Being this one dwelling, single family, they're required to have 2 spaces per total dwelling units. In summary, the applicant is planning to remodel and use a residential structure at the above referenced address. The applicant is requesting variance regarding 2 off-street parking spaces. See the attached application to review the findings of fact listed, as staff had no comments or modifications. This can be found below the conditions. As well, staff have no objections to the applicant's request for this variance relief. If the board does grant the applicant variance relief from section 1365.04 of the city's planning and zoning code, the use shall be subject to the following conditions, being the standard condition that if there are any other modifications or changes to what is submitted to us, it either has to be compliant to our ordinance or come back and seek variance relief additionally. And then that'll conclude staff report.
What modifications are they doing again that's inhibiting with creating off-street parking?
They're remodeling the residential structure and they say that they could not provide off-street parking.
Why is that?
They can probably speak more to it, but topography being that we're concerned of where we
Picture the neighbors, they all have off-street parking in a very similar location. And that's all I'm saying, I'm trying to figure out like what's going on the property that gets that from.
They can speak a little bit more to it, but at least from what I understand, this back here would be really the only place where they could potentially put it, and there's pretty steep for grading work to our understanding. So in the back, there were significant grading as well as retaining walls and et cetera to accommodate. They should hopefully be able to speak more to it, but that is some of the logic of why off-street parking isn't feasible for 2 spaces on this property.
Historically, have other owner occupants just applied to the city for? I mean, is this,
So this will be used, I believe they plan to rent it. This will be like a rental.
right?
They're not like building, this isn't like their own personal.
But is there any parking though? Or
There's no off-street parking for this residence.
not at all?
No, well, yeah, there's no parking on this parcel for for this.
I think what he's asking is like in the past when this has been used, why has this been not been an issue previously?
Don't know to my knowledge, assuming it was probably just a owned home at some point, built who knows when. They just never had any parking on the property, for it, but not sure.
Any other questions? Do we have a representative for this case? I hope.
Well, my name is Mark Basola. I live on Price Street, and this is the Price Street area parking. There is blue line along there. And so there is parking.
Wait, are you the applicant or are you representing?
No, there's a lady and her husband that live on Well Street, and I just came down to get information. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
we
we-
applicant
I'm
first,
not opposing or anything.
and then we move
Just
to,
information.
maybe we can entertain your comments as part of the public
Okay.
hearing.
Yeah, I think totally. Yeah.
I tried to call down a couple times and I never had any responses.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, maybe, so I'm just gonna repeat, is there a representative for this case? No? Okay,
There is nobody.
okay, so we can open the public hearing.
You say that.
I didn't know if they were tearing the house down or what they were doing. It looked abandoned and everything else, so.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious, like, is it already being rented out?
No,
Oh,
no, this is like, no, there's nobody currently living there. This
Okay,
is,
it is just the fact,
It's a vacant structure. correct.
okay,
That's partially why they need to get parking requirements. It was over that year timeframe of vacancy.
okay.
Yep.
There was the vacant lot beside it. I thought maybe there was an attachment to it or something. I wasn't aware that there is no attachment to it.
Right.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay, I
It's
thought
all
maybe that's-
internal, it's all internal remodeling.
Yeah.
There are two separate lots then. One is owned by the house that burned and the other is owned by this. That's,
Yeah, this is only regarding this parcel with the property on it.
okay. Yeah, I couldn't tell when I was looking at it whether there was any connection between the two. Okay. I guess that's another information. No, I'll talk to you another day.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay. Is that what we want?
Yes,
It's just-
yeah.
Cause there's no one here to speak to
I have
that.
a lot of questions on this.
I do too. I move that we, move this to the next meeting also.
Thank you, sir.
For lack,
Yeah.
again, lack of information and lack of someone to speak to it, so
Second,
I think it's, yeah.
Yeah, so we have a motion to continue this particular case. VAR 25-076, John Espinoza, 731 Well Street. Because there were too many outstanding questions with regard to the parking detail.
There's no pictures, I need more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me to deduce the questions that I would want to ask.
Right.
Because we don't have, there's no, topographic or.
Let's see all the other neighbors having off-street parking, so.
And there's no one to speak to. Well, historically, the tenants who are in there, they just applied for on-street parking permits for the city. Okay. So we have a motion to table, continue this. So the next regular meeting, seconded by Ms. Cook, I believe.
Motion by whom?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Motion by Ms. Cook, seconded by Mr. Lewitt. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. We're gonna table this. Okay, we're gonna move to the next agenda item. VAR 25, this is now agenda item E. VAR 25-080 Parker Walsh, 469 High Street. Request by Parker Walsh for variance relief from section 1369.08 of the city's planning and zoning code regarding lighting and design standards, city tax district 11, second ward, tax map 26, parcel 73, the B4 general business district. Mr. Thompson.
VAR 25080, as previously stated, the first kind of document we confirm where that parcel is located as well as that buffer zone, for the range of the letters. And then moving on to that is a rendering of what the signage will look like, once, if approved up there. The applicant seeks to install internally illuminated signs at the above referenced address. Signage presented for this project are compliant for their size and area using the calculations for the B4 district. Refer to the relevant sections of code. Just refers saying that internal illumination is not a permitted by right use in a B4. In summary, the applicant wishes to construct a wall sign with internal illumination at the above referenced address. The applicant is requesting variance relief regarding allowing internal illumination inside of a B4 district. See the attached application to review the findings of fact listed. As staff had no comments or modifications, this attachment can be found below the conditions. Staff have no objections to the applicant's request for variance relief. If the board does grant the applicant variance relief from section 136908 of the city's planning and zoning code, the sign shall be subject to the following conditions, being the standard one that was quoted in the previous variance and conditional uses. That concludes staff report.
Do we have a representative for this case?
Yes. Virtually. And first off, would apologize for my lack of physical presence. I just welcomed a new kid to the world. So appreciate the flexibility.
Can you just state your name and virtual address?
Yes. Virtual Parker Walsh with Roots Natural Kitchen. Virtual address is 110 Linwood Road, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is 469 High Street.
Yes, sir. Yeah, do you want to speak to just, provide an overview for what you're proposing?
Sure thing. This is a previous 2-tenant space. The landlord combined the spaces and to get this current space and somewhat of the existing conditions don't allow for kind of any other signage or lack of non-illuminated items. This also is presented signage is also in accordance with our brand standards, where we do have channel letters, and would like to continue to keep to the brand standards and design elements that is presented, and would like to have it as so.
All right. Thank you. And then you're, of course, requesting the variance primarily due to the illumination.
Correct. It is just due to the illumination. It's not. It is it is code compliant outside of the illumination.
Right. So it's for, obviously wayfinding, but also brand identification.
Yes, sir.
And then can you just speak to anticipated hours of operation and the timing of the illumination?
Yes. So the illumination is our hours of operation are 10:30 a.m. to 9 p.m. We're not a late night option. So we will not be open, to 2 a.m. I know there's apartments above us. We actually use a lighting control panel that would turn it on from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And we'll stay lit through those times. Just where it is gloomy in Morgantown and Pittsburgh. So would like to catch the eye as folks are coming down High Street as well.
Right. Any questions?
Yeah, but this is more from Mr. Thompson. Are there other, I'm pretty sure there are other businesses along High Street that are illuminated like this, right? Like, yeah.
Lanes.
Okay.
Right there.
Yep. Either non-conforming pre-existing or some for variances,
Okay.
but yep.
And aerially, it's not out of proportion. It's, that's not what the variance is for, but it's. All right, thank you, Mr. Walsh. We may have other questions for you later on, not at this time. We're going to open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in in support of or in opposition to this case, VAR 25-080 Parker Walsh, 469 I. Now's your chance to do so. No one here. So I'm gonna just make a motion to accept. One second. So we have a motion by Mr. Benison to accept the findings of fact, seconded by Mr. DeWitt. All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye. I move that we grant the requested variance for this case. And, it's, again, it's illumination, but it's not out of character with signage that's already present in the upper High Street commercial district. It's consistent. It's in line. So I move that we grant this variance for this case. We have a second. Seconded by Ms. Cook. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. So Mr. Walsh, we grant your request for your variance. You will receive written notification from planning 7 to 10 business days. This determination that we just rendered can be appealed to the Circuit Court of Montague County. And please keep in mind that any work that you undertake in that 30-day appeals window, you do at your sole financial risk. Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. Good luck with your endeavor.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening. All right. We are moving on to VAR 25-081 Zechun Zhu, 67 Jones Avenue, request by Zechun Zhu for variance relief from section 1365.04 of the city's planning and zoning code regarding minimum off-street parking requirements. City Tax District 12, Third Ward, Tax Map 20, Parcel 219 in the R3 multifamily residential district.
Yep. So like the previous ones for the VIR 25081, there's a rendering kind of thing with the property as well as the buffer. We were having issues with our software, so it'll look a little different, but you know, same 200 feet buffer and where it is. So this is just a separate rendering. And then a further zoomed in look at the property that's kind of where it's located and other makeups of the property. The applicant seeks to gain a certificate of occupancy for a residential dwelling at the above referenced address. This will be a multi-unit structure with 3 units in total. The applicant has 1 existing parking space on the side of the structure. Refer to the relevant sections of code below. And it just breaks apart, you know, number of spaces per units and bedrooms. In summary, the applicant is planning to rent a residential structure at the above referenced address. The applicant is requesting variance regarding 3 off-street parking spaces. They're providing 1 of the 4 total that they would need. Please see the attached application to review the findings of fact listed. As staff had no comments or modifications, the attachment can be found on the conditions. Staff have no objections to the applicant's request for this variance relief. If the board does grant the applicant variance relief from 1365.04 of the city's planning and zoning code, the use shall be subject to the following condition, being the 1 standard condition that is in the other variances and condition releases previously. And then that'll conclude staff report.
Before we see if there's a representative present, can you speak to, like, are they reconfiguring or upping the total number of units?
So
In other words, there's always been 1 available parking space for this parcel, is that right?
correct. Yeah, this there has 1 space that's been available. It's hard to see in this image because there's a tree there. But where this tree is located under it, again, it's hard to see. There's enough room, and there is an existing kind of space here for it on that property there, but they to be code compliant with the current standards, because the property was vacant for an amount of time previously. They would need 4 spaces total. They have 1 space, and they're asking for 3 spots.
Right.
Yep. Off the road here is where that is facing.
So they're asking for 3 spots on the road?
They're asking for 3 off-street parking spaces variance. They will not be providing those 3 spaces. They have one currently,
They're supposed to provide four.
correct.
They provide one, so they want a variance for the other three.
And so this structure was used in the past for rental?
Yeah, previously, this isn't a new structure, this has been here, for, you know, an amount of time, and it was previously used as a rental. And then behind the property here is a hillside, downwards, there, pretty steep on it, and then this, there isn't room here for another spot. To the left of the current existing spot, there isn't enough width, for our standards, for there to be like one side by side. They would be
Another
infringing,
8 foot wide.
correct, they'd be infringing on their neighbor's property, to be compliant, which isn't permitted, obviously.
So what's gonna happen to the parking? I mean, how are they gonna park?
Cause again, historically, have they just like applied for on-street?
There's not to my knowledge, I don't know.
That's not how this neighborhood works.
I'm not familiar, it'd be a parking authority, situation.
Do we have a representative for this? This is gonna be the same as.
Yeah, I was able to. There's not here. So
Okay.
across the street.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I vote we table this.
And I said. So we need to have a representative to speak to, cause you can't speak to historically what.
No.
I'm just saying that, I'm not saying
He
that.
was just saying.
Hypothetically.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with.
I'm just
the
concerned, I
history of this
mean,
Property.
we could grant for 3 spaces, but
That's a lot
then
of spaces,
What?
the street there.
How they parking? What's it gonna do then?
what is that gonna, is it going to be viable as a rental? Is he gonna be able, in other words, if the rental pool, most of the folks out there have a vehicle.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be a viable, I mean, that's not
Yeah,
really our
okay.
problem,
It has,
but we don't
to our
have a
knowledge,
representative to.
always been like a multifamily rental, because that's what that district's permitted for. It's a multifamily rental or multifamily district. But yeah, at least for the history of, you know, however long ago, property owner information, stuff like that. Unaware, just that there's one space that they have historically used at some point for parking.
And then just
at
make
that
do
property.
in terms of on-street parking. But I mean,
Yeah,
I think we need.
we,
be
again,
concerned
like
about.
information.
Well, I guess that's it's close to the ramp. Is that public, is that ramp public there?
What is space?
I don't know, can you speak to that, Mr. Thompson?
Which,
That ramp, parking ramp on University. It's nearby.
Of course, they said that's a.
Is the only other solution is just to make a single lane,
Yeah.
you know, and just stack parking. And the side yard, who's gonna go for that? So. Okay, so we have a motion to continue this particular case to our next regular meeting. Seconded by Ms. Cook, Mr. DeWitt. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, we're gonna table it. We are moving on to, and by the way, that was, we did change that to agenda item F. We are moving to 2 related cases. I'll reference them separately. The first is agenda item G, BR 25-085, West Virginia Sober Living, 201 Waitman Street, request by West Virginia Sober Living for variance relief from section 1365.04 of the city's planning and zoning code regarding minimum off-street parking requirements. City Tax District 9, First Ward Tax Map 37, Parcel 256, R1A, Single Family Residential District.
it is just one case. It was just
One case?
copied for the agenda.
Yeah, I thought the
item.
copy
Yeah.
over perfectly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I see that now. I'm sorry. So it's a single case. I
Well, it's
apologize.
not just verifying one too, it's.
Yeah, on the original packet,
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
copied. It was
so I'm sorry. I apologize. All right, so Mr. Thompson,
For VAR 250H5, again, it's like the previous, cases, here's an overview. The green is where the, property is located and that blue is that buffer. Here the closer zoomed in picture of the property itself without the, kind of layering, so you can see, the size of the property, where it's located, et cetera. Onto that. The applicant seeks to gain a certificate of occupancy for a group residential facility at the above referenced address. There will be 7 residents and 1 employee at this property. This permitted use requires 3 parking spaces per the reference lines of code found in the packet. In summary, the applicant wishes for a group residential facility use at the referenced address. There have been multiple correspondences for this case, which can be found in Appendix A below. The packet, the applicant is requesting variance regarding 3 off-street parking spaces. Please see the attached application to review the finding of fact listed, as staff have had no comments or modifications. This attachment can be found below the conditions. Staff have no objections to the applicant's request of variance relief. If the board does grant the applicant variance relief from section 136504 of the city's planning and zoning code, the use shall be subject to the following conditions, being that one standard condition found in the other variances and conditional uses. And then that'll conclude staff report.
So this is a, single family resident district, and this is a business that's,
This is for a group residential facility.
which is a business.
I believe so, but the applicant can speak more to that. I'm not sure about the, commercial versus side of it.
Mhm.
Wondering if like one of it's correctly for what it's.
It is a permitted use per our the city ordinance and state code.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have thank you, Mr. Thompson. Do we have a representative for this case?
Hello, I'm Dan McCauley. I'm the Director of Operations for West Virginia Sober Living. We are looking for 3 parking.
Can you state an address?
201 Wakeman Street.
Okay.
We are looking for 3 parking spaces, the same as any other residential address in the area. Recovery residence is a vital part of the curriculum of the continuum of care, and is protected by the Americans with Disabilities Act and also the Fair Housing Act. We don't want anything different than any of our neighbors, we just want a nice place where people can recover. And we're gonna need a little bit of parking space. There's probably a horse driveway at some point. I'm not really sure, we could maybe put a motorcycle or something into it. But it's not really, appropriate for car use. So we'd like 3 parking spaces.
But does that count as 1, 2, 3, 4? Is it correct? 4 total, or what is the?
That they would just need 3 total.
Yeah, the 2 stickers in the hangar like any other
Okay.
residence.
On that, where did you see the lane was that you?
It's
Go.
on the right in there.
You're living there?
I'm not.
Oh, they said your address, wait.
Oh, I thought you meant the address for that.
No, you wouldn't, you asked when you.
My personal
Yeah,
address?
that's what you got.
Like your business address.
The business address, 206 Spruce Street.
Okay.
Thank you.
Not one, no.
All right, sir, we may have additional questions for you. I think we will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do it, we ask about people. Yeah.
We can do the public hearings. There's any,
So I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we are. We're gonna open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in support of or in opposition to this case. Agenda item G, VAR 28085, West Virginia Sober Living, 201 Whitman Street now. So please approach, state your name and your address, the record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Justin Wojcik. 205 Waitman Street. 201 Waitman is a historical single-family residence in the Chancery Hill Historic District. This small, quiet residential neighborhood has long been plagued with parking challenges from nearby Morgantown High School. The neighborhood homeowners, one of the first in the city to happily adopt permit-only on-street parking, to blue curb the issue. The lack of required off-street parking for this proposed facility has already been an ongoing problem in the neighborhood, even with it still in the planning stages. Why this business did not do its due diligence in selecting this particular residence for its proposed high-density temporary lodging accommodations is absolutely perplexing, as there are multiple requirements for a facility of this type that 201 Waitman Street simply cannot fulfill. With that being said, what were originally concerns with parking and congestion have already turned into multiple instances of trespassing and destruction of property on neighboring property, as well as countless safety issues involving willful infractions of traffic laws and parking regulations that have been occurring constantly. Some of these concerns quickly became a reality the day my mother and I returned to her home on Waitman Street following a meeting at City Hall. A large U-Haul truck had driven across my mother's lawn and was parked on her sidewalk in front of the house, entirely blocking it off. I approached the driver, who attempted to ignore me until I knocked on the window. I asked him to please get the truck off of my property, to which he replied, "I'm not on your property." I informed him this was my mother's house. The weight of a loaded moving truck could cause damage to her sidewalk, and it is illegal to park there. He flippantly replied that he would just park in the road. He proceeded to drive across even more of her lawn and sidewalk before positioning the truck to where it was indeed entirely blocking off Waitman Street. As I went to walk to my mother's front door, another male was standing with his arms crossed on her staircase, blocking the entryway. I asked him if I could help him with something, and he replied that he was helping move. As I stood there waiting to go up her steps, I had to then ask him to move off the property. I went to her front porch and observed countless cars that were attempting to travel Waitman Street had to stop and turn around in the road due to the U-Haul truck obstructing the entire roadway. Eventually, the truck drove off just as the Morgantown Parking Authority officer arrived. I watched then as the officer proceeded to pick up at least 3 other vehicles of theirs that were illegally parked along Waitman Street. This activity of intentionally ignoring traffic laws and flagrantly disobeying parking laws continues to create an unsafe situation to today. Staff members frequently park literally on the sidewalk in front of the house, not just for unloading and unloading supplies and picking up, dropping off people, but for long durations. They don't just park on their sidewalk, they park on my mother's sidewalk as well, and constantly drive across her lawn, causing damage in the process. Also, this isn't during normal business hours either, with the supervisor's pickup truck parked on my mom's sidewalk until 9 p.m. This is in addition to countless other operational staff, supervisors, maintenance workers, moving trucks, and delivery trucks that park illegally, literally in the road at the street intersection in front of the stop sign, the yellow curb space across the street, or without permits in the blue curb parking that continues throughout the neighborhood. A group residential facility is required to have 3 off-street parking spaces as a minimum if there is only 1 employee and none of the residents can drive. But at full operational capacity of 12 residents and 3 supervisors, this requirement actually increases to a minimum of 5 off-street parking spaces. With the intensity of use of the building increasing from a single-family home to a facility housing 15 people, these requirements are an absolute minimum that a facility of this kind is to satisfy. Similar building use types hold comparable requirements, a halfway house requiring 4 to 6 spaces, and a boarding house requiring at least 6 spaces. 201 Waitman Street has 1 undersized off-street parking space that's utilized as a patio/storage area. I ask the Board of Zoning Appeals to uphold the Morgantown City Code's minimum requirements for a group residential facility. Please state that this historic R1 single-family residential neighborhood from the burden of already occurring parking, traffic, and congestion problems of this proposed business by denying the request for variance relief.
You did
Thanks.
research. You did your research.
Yes.
My family's owned the house next door for 40 years. My grandma's house is street down. You know, and someone's gonna end up getting hurt. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, the situation that's been going on over there. It's not the people's fault they're there. It's if they had a parking area, then the whole, conundrum going on in the street has become their parking lot. It's a very busy intersection.
Right.
And there's 16 additional people in that house. And it's a problem.
Hey, just with what's going on already, it's been a nightmare. It's true.
So is it already, it's already being used?
They, already have, I believe, a couple people saying it. But this is just, you know,
Also 15 is the max out.
with them being, you know, allowed to operate, they're allowed to have up to 15
Up to, yeah, which translates into. Pardon,
But then the two sidebars.
You referenced 5 here,
up to 5.
as
It's,
many as 5.
yeah, one parking space per employee with up to 3 employees, and then, well, the absolute minimum is 1 parking space for an employee, and if none of the people can drive, that's a 2,000 square feet house. So they're required 1 parking space per 1,000 square feet of house. So that's a minimum of 3. But if the 12 residents can drive, then they need 1 parking space per every 4 residents. Or, which then and with up to 3 supervisors comes out to, a minimum of 5.
Right.
All that they, has been stated to the city is 7 residents and 1 employee, for the record. That's
7 residents.
7 residents and 1
How many
employee.
of those residents currently have vehicles?
The applicant can
I mean,
speak to it, but.
that's gonna change.
I know, but
Exactly. But they're permitted use on this. I mean, what they might only be anticipating having 7 people and 1 supervisor now, but if approved by state law, they're allowed to have it to 15.
If they were to go above though, so it's 1 space per employee plus 1 space per 5 residents. So it's 1 for the employee, 1 for the first 5, and then 1 because it goes up to 7.
For each additional.
So they'd be able to go up to 10, because that would be the upper threshold of that second 5, but if they were to go above that, they would have to seek variance again, because then they would be expanding their capacity beyond what is granted by the variance. They would need, so if they wanted to have 11 residents in there, they would have to come back and request additional variance.
In the past, since we've sure that we applied for variances for this group previously in other areas, and we approved variances for them previously.
It's not been within my time, so I'm not sure.
From
Not similar to this specific.
from what I looked at with, they do run, a few other group homes in town. But all those other group homes are at a location that has adequate parking. And
Right.
they never, you know, they should have done due diligence towards, you know, purchasing this residence to have a spot that actually provides the parking they need.
And we grant the variances after duly considering the special characteristics of each case, and this is.
They brought the hardship in this case.
What I'm concerned, would you like to make any additional?
Yeah.
That's,
But maybe just don't remain for.
Okay.
I would like to speak to correspondence. I'm
Yeah.
concerned.
Yeah.
I'm concerned, let's see if we put this together. In correspondence, submitted to the board, referencing West Virginia State Code.
Which one's that?
It's the first item. So it's the letter dated September 7th, 2025. I won't reference the author of the letter. And then the list of the state code items, that list was compiled, it appears July 2nd, 2025. It's West Virginia State Code 16-67-2 subsection B9. Notice must be served specifying what proposed with regard to the substance use disorder facility. The notice must state in all caps, proposed residential substance use disorder service program in the proposed county. The public may submit comments about an applicant during, and there's a 60-day comment period. That notice, as of July 3rd, and I don't know if this has been remedied, I use that word remedied intentionally. As of July 3rd, 2025, no notice has been released I think you used the phrase, someone used the phrase due diligence. That's an example of there are standards and expectations for, and especially since this is, not only is it a residential home, it's commercial in nature, which raises,
More questions in the community, because it's.
and well, the bar is set higher.
Right.
And what's expected of whoever's proposing the facility, there are certain expectations there. And I just want to repeat, state code provides for that requirement. And as of July 3rd, I'm just concerned
Well,
about,
according to this letter,
according to this letter.
yeah.
Well,
How do we know if notice is served or not?
good point.
And also, we also aren't the circuit court. We can't enforce this
Right.
code section.
But
I mean, we can reference, I mean, we could use it as like guidance.
whether or not this is substantiated,
But maybe we should also see who else to speak towards this issue.
any additional comments?
Yes, if I'm commenting, we have received no correspondence from, West Virginia Civil Living at all.
Right.
In addition to with state code, I've also not seen any reference to them having a section 106 review. It is one of 109 historical homes in the Chancery Historic District. And as such, with this being a state licensed facility, they're supposed to do a section 106 historical review of the house to make sure that it's not affecting the historical character of the neighborhood and whatnot as well. And they've
So
already
it
made some
is
changes.
officially-
I'm sorry.
It is a formally recognized, officially recognized.
Listed on the National Historic Register.
And the state registry, As
Yeah,
well?
yes, it's,
that's an interesting detail.
but, and there's already been some changes, like handrails, out front, which are needed, but, are things that I wonder, it makes you wonder how much work they're gonna continue to do to the house and any other changes to the facade that might be taken away from the historic neighborhood and the house itself. So, but that being said, that's more so the character of the neighborhood, and that is a very minor issue compared to this serious, parking and congestion traffic
Right.
problem that's been going on. I mean, it's been bad the way it is. I can't imagine when they actually have people trying, multiple people trying to live, work, go about their day
Right.
with no parking at all.
All right, we may have additional questions for you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in support of or in opposition to this case? Name and address.
John Stewart, 140 Wakeland, about 100 feet. So
Yes, sir.
I just, I'm not as eloquent, but, when I heard this was going in, I toured this house, possibly to buy for my daughter. I could not believe this high density facility was going into a space which is so limited outdoor space. It's not only no outdoor parking, but there's no outdoor space, period. It's literally up to the edge of the lot on all sides, except for a tiny bit at the front. And extremely high density proposing is such a dramatic change for a really classic, South Park. So just at 6 or 7, I can't imagine how you even do that to the inside of the house. And it's also not quite shown here, but where it's sitting is exactly 1 block from the high school's parking lots. It's something where we not only have, morning high school traffic, but a lot of game traffic.
Yes.
All the time. And I'm deeply concerned by not only the lack of parking, but also the lack of outside space is something, a public nuisance.
Would you say you're concerned for or against this?
I'm against it, yes, because I support the activity,
Oh, yeah.
but I could, they have picked the worst house than this. I'm not sure.
That's right.
Just given the nature of the opposition of the operation, it's your view then, and I don't mean to characterize the point of view unfairly, but it's not consistent with the character of the neighborhood.
I know, it's certainly, they have 6 or 7 people there. There is this tiny driveway and that is it.
We also mentioned the outside space, and some of the letters.
Yeah, I think when initially folks visited planning commission, but outside space was one of the substantial things brought up as a concern to the property. And it's literally why we did not purchase the property. So,
I was just reading in the comments that there's people just hanging out on other people's property effectively.
you can't hang out any place else. If we lock it, the house goes up to like a foot from the property lines and like that. So there's no outdoor space at all. I think.
Thank you very much.
Are you three together?
Pretty much so.
Okay.
I'm the one that's 30 inches away.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's perfect.
You want to say something?
I think I can speak too.
Oh, yes, please. Yep, that's what this.
Hi, Miss Wojcik. I'm at 260 Wagner Road. I am 402 feet away from the proposed separate living house. They do currently have 3 residents living there and 1 supervisor. I'm requesting that the council deny the parking variance. I'm just reading my letter that I submitted to you guys. We've had, like my brother mentioned, a lot of parking issues, starting with the U-Haul and continuing with the supervisor, Eric, who likes to park against traffic and park on the sidewalk, city sidewalk, facing the stop sign. So if you look there, he's facing towards the lower end of Waitman and will park directly in front of the stop sign. He's ran over my mom's curbside garden. We've now put fencing around it. Luckily, he hasn't ran over that, but we replaced the sod and he ran over that a couple times. Now there's a cinder block to just stop it. So before we try to put in the other garden. Not to mention the cigarette butts that he's throwing out. I have it on ring camera and he actually went up to his car multiple times and asking him to pick up his own cigarette butts that he's just throwing out. Because he'll sit out front and just smoke, just toss them out. Besides from that, other staff and employees that they've been getting the house ready has been parking against traffic, parking on the yellow curb, parking on the sidewalk in front of 205, my mother's house, and 209 Wakeman Street, causing damage to their joint curbside garden and the sod, as I've mentioned. These are just the reports that I have personally made to the Morgantown Parking Authority and the Morgantown City Police. If you look, every time I've had an issue, I call and reported it. Most of the time, they've gotten by with warnings. This neighborhood has had to have permit parking since the late 1990s to solve issues like these. So we're allowed the 2 permit spots, but that one tag he was talking about, the guest pass, can only be used up to 3 days in a week on the same vehicle. It can't be used as just another park on the street pass. In fact, if
And it's not transferable?
you can. So like, if Mr. DeWitt was coming over to the house, he could use it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but if he comes on Thursday, he cannot use it for that vehicle on Thursday. He can come back and use it again next week. So if you have like your car's in the shop, you have a rental for a few weeks, you actually have to apply to get a temporary tag. In addition, you can't just use your guest pass on your.
For the temporary vehicle.
Right.
And it's, in all due fairness, those strictures are in place for a reason.
Yeah, so do they already have passes? To your knowledge, what you can see?
Eric supervisor does have one, but it does not say 201 appointment on it. It's for another spot in South Park.
And then does he live there, as far as you can tell, or does he, they leave?
No, he says he lives in West River. He's a very nice individual. He's doing great in the program. I mean, it's just a bad house for it.
Yeah, it's a program, sounds like it's in a terrible place.
Additionally, like when we came up with the parking permits, the way it was done is they went through and they figured out how many residents, because it's a single family neighborhood, but how many spots, they divided it out, and that's how we ended up with the 2 and 1 guest.
Right.
So I'm just requesting that you guys deny it. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Yes, please.
Oh, so you were saying to approve it for 2 and 1 guests?
No,
Oh, what were you?
I'm asking,
Oh, so not, okay.
because it's going to grow.
It's completely different.
Since
We're already having problems. Gary is using a permit and he's not even parking in a
So,
spot.
Sailor, is like the parking pass, the permit tied to this variance?
Yeah, if they, so to get the parking passes for that property to own it, they would have to get their certificate of occupancy. So if they were to acquire their certificate of occupancy, which they would need the variance before they could go to that,
Then
they could make the request and get 2 spaces and then 1 guest, two passes and then 1 guest pass.
Okay,
That would be on them though.
so like if, let's say their capacity expanded and they had 20 people there. So like, I mean, obviously
Yeah,
what happened,
hypothetically.
well, like under the code, they would need more passes, but they wouldn't get more parking permits, correct?
No, it would be
An
like,
additional 3,
No, I
because
think
it's at 20.
The point is, there's only in South Park for these homes, 2 + 1, doesn't matter. what
Right.
you do.
So like, even if you give them a bunch of spaces, like, they're only gonna have 2 passes for the whole place.
yeah, they would be able to acquire 2 passes.
So
and then
where
one
they,
guest
they can't park on those, I mean, they could have the variance, but they still can't park. They wouldn't be able to park right in front of there.
for the 3rd vehicle.
Yeah.
And if they don't, I mean, if they go down the route of getting the passes, yeah, they'd be able to have 2 parking passes and then 1 guest pass.
And even more so because the property is right at that corner.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so, there's no, like, it's congested.
And
There's a reason there's
and
permits.
adjacent to the school, which
My name's,
See a lot of people on my street.
my name's Ian Wojcik, and I live at 205. That house is so close to me that I can take the broom handle, hit the windows. We're 30 inches away. They don't have 23 inches. Their kitchen door goes down 2 steps and then they're right into my fence like this. So it's a really tight. In essence, their gutters are actually encroachment onto the property. I have the whole 100-foot lot. I go all the way back to the alley. That was on like a 50 by 50, maybe 40 by 50 lot. And it really does not have, like, it's built right to the edge of the line. That little funny half lot that you see
Actually,
back in here. This actually goes with this house here. Okay, that's not part of that. I'm all back in here.
okay.
Okay, they are literally built to the edge of that line. There's not even any, like, there's not even 6 inches there. I've been there 40 years, so, but the case in point is, I have 2 children, so my daughter has to have a visitor pass on my other car when she comes to see me. That's how tight things are. That's why back in 99, that's why we did that, because we used to not be able to have any parking anywhere. It's only till 7 PM. Because at that point, the high school fills everything up and there's still no parking in the area, but we put up with that. But you know, they should have used their due diligence. I mean, this is like the smallest house considering how many big homes we have in R1As and everything else. We're just 109 little contributing homes in here in this historic district, you know, and it's not just how many are in it now. Before they got certified, licensed, registered, whatever you want to call it, and I'm not trying to get off subject, they've had 4 people living there before they got all their certification and everything else and registration. That just happened yesterday, probably because I called Old Flag and was asking questions. So moving forward, they're gonna have a lot of people. It's gonna work as a revolving door. If somebody doesn't work out, they're out and somebody else is in. All they're trying to do is make sure they collect enough money, pay off that mortgage in a short period of time. This is not a regular sober living. This is an opiate house. This is new money coming from First Federal Foundation that is going to these homes. And they're really spending it like there's no tomorrow on it, okay? There are a lot of things going on. I can't put my finger on all of it, but I don't think passing this variance is going to be very helpful at all to any of us that live around here. So I'm open for questions. You can see I'm kind of emotional about it. But I mean, they're expensive homes. I mean, just in the last 3 years, you know, I've already redone the furnace, finally put in AC after 99 years of the house never having it. The second roof cost $30,000 to put on. You know, my home doesn't look the greatest maybe from the outside, but there is so much that's being done because I'm not going to let it look like a rental. I am staying staunch. And my mother-in-law's house, and you know that I owned it for 10 years, but it's still mom's house. You know, that's how she was. On the corner of Wagner Road and Cadell, they're on the brick road. Mom's been very adamant for like 80 years of her life, making sure Wagner Road stayed a brick road. And we're adamant in our neighborhood there of just really, it's Waitman and Simpson and Wagner and South High Street and the cemetery about keeping it all a really nice community, you know, and,
Well,
you know,
which, where
in light of it
it's
all.
an historic district, so
Yeah, exactly.
very reasonable.
You know, and there will be other places. I mean, I don't know. I just don't, you know, they had to have known that this was not going to be a good thing for their parking if they used it, like, due diligence. If everybody did their due diligence, they wouldn't be in this position trying to ask for this today.
There were
So-
some houses across the state, off-street.
Well,
Ask the question again.
I just,
All their other houses across the state have off-street parking.
Oh,
Yeah,
I have some other questions I admit for the.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can't remember anymore.
Dave. Or Dan.
So like in the purpose of this property, what was the consideration towards like being close to a high school, like having sober living people? Recovering probably alcoholics, drug addicts and various things, but like I fully support the program, but having it so close to a high school and then in a very limited parking, dense, highly residential area, what was the drive or that?
Sure, we really like to see people get involved with community. SAMHSA says that the 4 pillars to recovery, health, home, community, and purpose.
Did you talk to the neighbors to see if they supported this objective?
A few, yeah. A couple wrote letters in support.
Yeah, there
to
are
us there.
letters in support.
I just wanted to see like, because but I feel like your most direct neighbor might be,
Because, I mean, the nature of your facility, I don't think that's, for me, that's not the issue. It's the nature of what you need to do operationally to serve your clients. Are the characteristics of that operation compatible with the nature of the neighborhood?
That's where I.
Specifically with regard to the parking issue, and I would say no.
I need a house manager to have, I've got a live-in house manager there. He needs to have a parking pass for the neighborhood.
So the employee, they do live there.
The employee, yeah.
Okay.
He's also a graduate of the program, good kid from Morgantown, born and bred.
Is it, pardon me, good, I'm gonna ask Press, is this the person that said does not live there, that you said does not live there?
He's our maintenance guy that she's talking about.
Okay.
And as soon as we saw those pictures of Eric's truck all over the stuff, I immediately wrote him up and told him he wasn't allowed to go over there by himself anymore. So very sorry about Eric. Like, he's a good guy with a good heart. He's just a good old boy.
The problem is too, it's not just been the one supervisor truck, it's been, I mean,
But it's also not the intention, but it's also not the intention, like, they all mean well, it's just more like.
Right,
they-
but
they-
it's been
more what they're trying
It's-
to do.
Which speaks to the point that I made, is the nature of your operation. It seems to me that there's a fundamental, basic incompatibility there. Both with regard to the individual residences and also, there's also, it's a historic district. And again, it's not that it's a substance abuse treatment facility, that's not it, it's just operationally, it seems to me that there's a fundamental.
I was going, yeah,
With
at
the
least
nature of the
mention the district and for it is a permitted use in that district. Like,
Right.
And I think
Yeah.
the community aspects supported.
Sure, but just to make sure it's stated,
It's
for the
permitted,
district.
but
zone, it's
again,
permitted.
fundamentally, is there an incompatibility? Especially with respect to the parking concerns.
I just feel like-
I'm kind of familiar with the intersection, I'm familiar with the area. There's also having to take into account Morgantown High School dynamic.
I mean, kids are parking on that street too, probably.
Oh, if
Doesn't get permits for the city.
But do they?
Doesn't sound.
But there's still aerial traffic.
right, and on some of this too, it doesn't, it does not matter if it's a group residential facility, a live-in elderly care, a sorority house. The intensity of the use is increasing from what would be and the paperwork, it says it's an R1A. This neighborhood is actually an R1 neighborhood. There is no multifamily housing. These are all single-family houses that 3 or more individuals in any one of the homes in the picture have to be a functional family unit. you're not allowed to have, three unrelated people living together in a house. Has to go in front of the city and prove that they are a functional family unit. Every one of these residences is just that, a residence, and it's an old neighborhood, it's a cramped neighborhood,
Right,
I mean, it's been over 100 years of,
right.
being.
And additionally, it's the single family residences. There's what's allowed with respect to maximum parking. But then there's,
Well, what's the maximum occupancy for this place?
8.
Yeah, for, as stated, that would be it for it. A single,
Eight, like, residents and then an employee?
No,
So 9,
7.
okay, 8 total.
8 total, so supervisor and 7 residents.
Excuse me,
that's what our,
Oakland told me they were approved for 12, and I watched 12 mattresses, 12 dressers, and 12 bed frames get moved in on June 25th.
for as far as their certificate of occupancy for what they'd be approved for is that 7 and 1 though. That's what we'd be looking at for our permitting, for our CO. Would be 7 residents and 1 employee. If there's anything that isn't accurate to that, it would be covered in the clause that they'd have to come back and request additional variance. Or even the same variance, because that would still be a change of what was said, for our standards, which is 7 residents, 1, employee live-in, there. That's how the city will be looking at their, CO, at least for when we.
And we work closely with fire marshal and code enforcement. Code enforcement came through last Thursday and counted the number of beds.
I mean, yeah,
And additionally for, the single.
All that stuff's not our purview.
Dwelling, single family, they would need 2 spaces. For this residential living, for this facility, it's 3.
If it was,
I don't think this,
if it was a boarding house, it would require 6 spaces, and if it were a halfway house requires 4 to 6 spaces, and a boarding house would require 6 spaces. These are similar building use types that need to be considered against the residential facility use type.
right? Practically, I mean, I don't think this.
I mean, these are all very good points stacked up, but I mean, to what we do, it's like just to the parking spaces
That are
that
available,
are
the
available.
ones that are given for each home,
Yeah,
plus the guests, so that's 2, plus the guests, which is 3 days,
yeah,
and then no more for that week.
that's all that we can.
Yeah, so I can't.
I'd say maximum 2 plus the 1, it's a sign.
Yeah, something like that.
And that's all we want, just the same. And we understand, I'm South Park born and bred, like I remember that the blue curve started happening and it was great. Because all the kids weren't home alone
But then you request a variance, what was the variance for?
for 2 parking spaces and the pass.
But isn't that what you said? So is that okay?
So
The facilities of this kind, are required to have a minimum off-street parking requirement for all the picking up, dropping off, loading, unloading, and whatnot of the dozen or so residents that they're gonna be having the active place.
So what can we do about that? Are they applying for a variance? I thought they'd get.
Yeah, there are 2 separate things.
Okay.
They need to be, under the code, they need to have 3 off-street parking spaces. So that's he's here for a variance,
Okay.
so that they don't have to do that. Now, the other issue is that there's permit parking in this neighborhood, and every house it's like 2 passes plus an extra for a guest. And so that was kind of what I was getting at earlier, where I'm like, well, you're gonna have this many people, but you're only gonna have 2 or 3 passes to begin with. So even if we give them these variances, if more than 3 people have vehicles, they're not gonna be able to park anywhere in that neighborhood. It's South Park. I mean, they're gonna have to go,
I think we.
God knows where they're gonna go.
Well,
Yeah.
I just think you kind of answered, I think we still have to identify and get their parking somewhere else nearby, right? Is that what we're saying? It's like effectively, like, they still need to get the number of spaces that they need for the.
They're only gonna be able to have 3 cars there, no
Not
matter.
there, I'm just saying somewhere relatively proximate, they rent, whatever it is, parking somewhere.
having another facility downtown and they rent spaces behind the beauty college.
Is
That's
that
right, encourage us, house that have a coming there.
Space.
Should the
Rent space
variance be
downtown.
specific to the area
Area,
that are
yes.
immediately adjacent to the
Yeah.
parcel?
There's a distance requirement. I don't believe that there's any parking facilities within that range because it's not like a downtown district or something. The board, if they wanted to, could condition that they have to acquire those parking passes as a part of it, because that has been talked in previous cases with similar parking concerns. The last one I can think of is the ice cream restaurant use, that the board conditioned that they go and acquire alternative means being on.
But we also had support from the whole community surrounding that.
Correct. I'm just referencing that as, since it was brought up, there are, other alternative parking options. The board has conditioned it previously to seek, and either getting additional striping for that ADA space in that case. That would be an option for this one.
Well, they got on a street parking space right there.
Yeah,
They would never get that there.
no, I'm saying as an example, the passes would be that version
Okay.
for this case, since there was discussion of alternatives, what can they do? The parking
If that's a
pass.
permanent parking neighbor, they're not gonna give them a street parking space there.
Yeah.
That's not gonna be.
And I don't think the geometry of this intersection is directly comparable to the wood barn case that we took out.
Sure, yeah, not the getting the street striped or anything. I'm just saying if a condition for those passes, because they've been discussed so heavily.
Yeah, you just get.
That would be an option to put on there. That was the suggestion.
Yeah, I guess I'm just saying, like, even if we did that, like, where are we gonna have them? Where are they gonna put them?
Well, if we don't approve the variance, what happens?
I
So
mean, you're, writing the findings of fact, you're saying. This is,
Well, and it's not just parking stacking, there's the loading, there's
having everybody.
parking in the street, you want to drive the paper side.
Yeah, the fundamental issue is that it's a congested neighborhood to begin with, and this adds.
And it's not a small building they're trying to expand the zone into, there's not. The room resident, they kill residents already,
But there's no.
That's what I'm saying.
For parking,
People,
doesn't mean.
driving on the sidewalk, backing up into the four-way intersection, just parking in the road. It's on a good day, it's a very busy intersection, it's a shortcut, everyone drives down to go to Morgantown High, to avoid South Nine. It's.
Planning didn't have any conditions or anything?
other than the standard and, because otherwise this is a permitted use per planning
Yeah,
ordinance. There's
okay,
nothing else that
right.
planning has jurisdiction over
Yeah.
to put a condition on it. That's, just the standard, condition was all that's put on it, because it's just.
Is there
parking
any
for as far
way
as planning
to,
goes.
if we just made accommodation for, I mean, just practically speaking, I see. And not even from the parking standpoint, but just in terms of trying to mitigate, ameliorate just congestion. Is there any way you can go with just one spot? And there's some kind of like,
Yeah, the parking's
like
not
not
like,
the whole situation, and I mean, your residents are just, I just think practically speaking, I do not see.
Yeah.
This parcel accommodating really more than one spot. Practically
So
speaking,
if any other resident was to buy that property, they would
just in terms of
not be able to have three spots.
making your operation viable, so that it
That's
will
what I'm talking about, 2 plus the gas.
But you're required to have 3, that's the thing, that's what we're fighting over right now.
well, a single family residence, if it was to come in here new, would also need to come get a variance, but they would only need 2 spaces, which.
Why would they need a variance?
If this was like a new single family residential dwelling, they need 2 off-street parking spaces. They wouldn't be able to provide that, so they would come to the board and ask.
Yeah, you ironically need to have
Yeah.
off-street parking in South Park where there's no.
You're
off-street parking.
asking
Yeah.
for us to grant in other words, well, you're asking us to grant you a variance to provide for a parking allowance for parking that doesn't even physically, it's not there.
Yeah.
And I would like to say something.
Well, in one sense, that's why
That's,
You asked for variances to be.
Yeah, that's-
Because you literally can't comply
But a
physically.
variance is speak for a specific hardship or a condition, not just a standard condition of the neighborhood. Most of the.
Right, but it is a condition of the property. There's, where
But
can,
it's not-
where can they physically cite a
I would make the argument that
Parking
the,
spot.
that the applicant, this is a self-created hardship.
Yeah.
And we are not here to remedy that because the applicant did not do due diligence.
I would agree with that. And also, there was a statement made in the findings of fact that says, this will be the, let me read the first, finding of fact, which was the variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, welfare, and the rights of adjacent property owners or residents because, and it does not continue there. But the answer that was put in there will be the same standard as the other neighbors. Well, it's already been stated to this board that a standard does not exist with the people that have been working with your organization for whatever reason in this particular case. And I have to ask, it sounded to me like they were instead of being, is it sober living?
It is.
Because is that the way sober living acts?
So in other words, what you're saying is
The sober living
your,
all over other people's property.
your use is permitted here. Both with regard to state code and also the zoning regs. However, even though, there may be a material difference between owner occupied residences and the nature of what you're proposing. But even though there's that difference, you still have to meet this given standard
There's no-
that the other owner occupants
They're
are expected
disregarded.
to meet, and that's not what is happening. So, I mean, and then practically speak, there's no parking there, and we could grant the variance, but that's not gonna help you meet what is going to have to happen on a daily basis from an operational standpoint for what you're proposing, and that's not gonna happen because physically, the parking is just not there. It's not there.
Where did the residents that owned the home before park?
But that's not the issue.
No.
That's because you're required to have three. And we're fighting for a variance on three when we can't even find two. So-
And the intensity of the use of the building's increasing, it's not just,
Yeah.
2 or 3, function, it's not a function of family units.
I mean, I could go right down and disagree with everyone.
What, I mean, we
Reading this.
just and to be honest, the findings of fact aren't well developed.
No, they're
There's
not.
not a lot for us to, but, I mean, you say, the parking's just not there.
Not-
So we could
right. The parking's
just make a
not there,
motion
but I
right
don't
now,
know.
not to.
But there was no character, there was no follow through on what is being said here. And that's, yeah, so I move. In case,
Well, here, I actually think there is, just based on the lot, there actually is a special condition of the property that prevents them from providing the off-street parking. I mean, they just physically couldn't do it.
That's a need for every property around.
I know, but that's why we give variances to everybody in that
They're
neighborhood.
thinking that from a business perspective with the knowledge of knowing they're going more than two
Yeah, can't do it.
pieces, which I think that's the negligence there, is that like, you
Yeah.
do that. Then,
Well, I mean,
I don't say negligence.
my reading of the ordinance isn't that like, if you buy a property with a special, physical condition, that doing that, you accept that limitation. My understanding is that as long as you didn't physically change your property to create that issue,
But
you're still okay with the variance. My issue with this request,
it doesn't match the model of the rest of the other establishments. it sounds
Yeah,
like. So it's like knowing that it needs space, it needs this kind of like, I don't.
well, yeah, I would agree with,
the model.
I would agree with that, that it's, the problem with this variance isn't, to me, whether there's a special condition, I think there is, probably an unnecessary hardship. The problem is whether it's gonna adversely affect the character and safety of the neighborhood. And the primary issue isn't that, if it was a resident, if it was just a couple or a family that owned that, it would be reasonable to assume there's not gonna be more than 3 cars out there at any given time. We're talking about there's gonna be eight people living there. I think you can't assume that there's only gonna be 3 cars associated with the 8 people that are in that house at any given time. So we have to assume that other cars are either gonna be parking on that street, or at least there's gonna be added traffic from people getting dropped off or having to walk to and from.
And even more so because
That's where the rub is.
It's already, I have included a supplemental evidence of just one day, starting at 7 in the morning until 9 o'clock at night of trucks and people getting picked up and dropped off and then getting dropped off in the road, just, stopping in front of the stop sign, pulling up onto the sidewalk. And this is while what's stated to be a couple people staying at the house at the time, certainly far from full capacity.
Right, and additionally, you'd assume that each individual resident, they're unrelated, which increases the likelihood that additional,
More parking would be.
more vehicles.
Yeah.
But if someone bought that house or built that same house next door or whatever, they would have to get this variance. Because they wouldn't be able to put 3 parking spaces or a garage there. I mean, nobody would, it's South Park. Like, nobody has a garage, so nobody can provide
I
off-street
can't for
parking.
variance for lack of garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first meeting here, I did recuse myself from my variance. There, sorry.
So,
Both their houses have garages, just stating.
I mean, there are.
And then that's the thing, there's plenty of, there's a house of.
There are some, but it
There's 3 houses down that just sold on Gerard Pile Auction that has a full, walk-in, garage basement.
Right,
5 cars.
but this variance is not uncommon in South Park. Correct.
Correct. Yeah, parking variances are common.
Well, I mean, maybe not this specific one, because it
yeah.
applies to a residential or a,
In this district, parking variances are not uncommon.
but off-street parking requirements, there's a lot of variances to that in that neighborhood.
Yep. As an additional consideration, potentially on their end as well, if the occupancy of it was brought down to 2, does that change how the board would look at it? If instead of 7, they had 5 occupants, 1 employee, they would only need 2 permanent spaces per
Well,
ordinance.
I think I would
Would that
back
change
up kind of
anything?
phrase this, like, it's not the issue like that where anybody who buys this would have to seek the variance. It's the, like, it's a commercial application in a residential neighborhood is what I think we're running into with the volume of vehicles that are coming.
It's the
through.
nature of the operation.
The nature of the operation in the area that's creating this.
It's just, we're talking about 8 people who are, it's not, so we're talking about 8 individuals. So if you have 8 individuals, you're more likely to have more cars than if it's a family.
Exactly,
They're not gonna be sharing,
Because they're unrelated.
So if
They're all gonna be-
It's kind of like, put a Band-Aid, it's gonna peel right off. And-
That's right.
Yeah.
We're talking,
I mean, it's not unreasonable for the applicant to request them, but it's like in the real world, practically speaking, what is going to ensue?
Well, I think we're.
The issue to me is just-
It's what's ensued.
additional activity and congestion in an area that's already super congested. I mean, it's right by the high school.
Yes, and I don't feel because of the applicant's disregard already, I don't see this applicant following through with what's already been said. Because it says, they're using the word standard. They're using the word, again, well, see standard several times. There's been a disregard for just in parking. Oh, we're talking about parking. It's just all about parking.
Mhm.
So I just can't see that.
Where would, if we had made a condition that they had to provide some other off-street parking somewhere else. What is the distance? Do you know?
I can pull it up, but I'm almost certain it's 200 to 400 feet.
City code for, in a residential neighborhood, this is an R1, wants it to be on the same lot or at best in an adjacent lot. Though in commercial applications in town, they're allowed 300 feet for off-street parking.
I mean, I can't think of anywhere around. there
Within 200 to 400 feet, the street that comes to mind. would be-
What if they had rented a spot from like the funeral home or something down this, is that close enough over there?
Well, it's not, everything's getting picked up and dropped off and, not getting loaded, unloaded. It's just all happening in the middle of the street or mostly on the side.
That's not what.
Is what's currently on.
Well, I think we need to focus, and it's also,
Maybe there's
Again-
probably slow down through there, people get picked up and dropped off, it's just what's happening for all of the houses for.
the property for parking is not compatible with the other business-like models in the town or whatever. And
There hasn't been, there's other precedents that I could cite that fits this model,
No.
that we've approved. Because the other issue, thinking on those are things that we have so much precedence of things we've done already, this one is a very specific case.
Right, and I mean, right in the findings of fact, it's, you state there isn't parking at the residences.
there it is.
So there it is, right there. We can grant the variance, but so you'll meet the zoning regs with respect to the parking requirement, but practically speaking, again, with regard to the operation of what you're proposing, physically, it's not there. Additionally, this will be.
Well, their parking is actually limited by the passes that they can actually get. That's what they're really limited by,
That's right.
is by the number of permits
Because it's
they can get
it's
there.
an honorable
Space on
residence.
the street.
I guess what I'm really arguing is what's allowed isn't supported by the physical reality. That's what it comes down to.
Yes,
Yeah, there's what's allowed,
Because essentially they're
but
gonna have.
trying to square that what's allowed circle with the square that's there. You can't square it.
So we're
No.
gonna play rocks with paper for.
Additionally, this will be the same standard. The problem is what you're proposing, you can't. They've got their residence, there's the standard. You've got your residence, yeah, it's potentially single family owner occupied, it's what you're proposing. Operationally, no, we can't.
No, I'm saying, how does the process start to deny variance?
You can't meet,
Prove a variance.
additionally, I just wanna make the point, you can't meet the standard.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think we should usually, I don't know, if we should vote on whether to approve or deny first, then do this.
Well,
Okay.
there would be a motion to grant, okay, so I'm gonna move not to approve the.
I'm a second.
So we have a motion not to approve the findings of fact, referencing the foregoing discussion. We have a second.
Can you explain that to me about like the, not.
Can we do that?
Finding-
I mean, we
have to
can
accept-
vote not to accept the findings of fact.
Yeah, well, yeah, you just vote to
Or we
accept the
can-
findings of fact, and then you would, if you wanted to deny the findings of fact, you would just vote against it.
But then we can't vote on the variance.
Right,
We deny the.
well, let's
finding of
That's correct.
fact. So I think we have to accept the finding of facts to deny the variance. If we plan to deny the variance.
well, no, so if I put it in a positive, I move to accept the findings of fact, and then if we.
Yeah, if the findings of fact are rejected, then the variance is just denied.
Yeah, that's why we should vote on whether to approve or deny first. Doesn't that make more sense?
Yes.
You can do it that way if you want. You can, the manner of voting to deny or approve the variance if you want, and then vote on the findings of fact.
They
But
can
if,
then come back and try we deny the findings of facts, then they can submit again.
yeah, I mean, if you would go to deny the findings of fact, then if, they would be able to apply again,
But if we
Change the
accept the findings of fact and deny the variance, then can they apply again?
it'd be a whole new process, of it. But then, realistically, they would just try to appeal at the court of Mon County, because that's why that's there. If the variance is denied, then, it's either just denied or they go to the Mon County court.
So let's,
Yeah, what you wanna do is if we're gonna deny it, we're gonna need to write our own findings of fact. in support of denial. We're not gonna take these findings of fact as a rationale for a denial. That wouldn't make sense.
No, we're just, if we put it, let's move to accept the findings of fact and we vote nay. Then that kind of moots the.
Yeah, the variance would just be denied.
It's
denied.
We deny, because you can't move.
I think they're trying to write her.
Yes.
Yeah,
Alright.
So, okay, so I move to accept the findings of fact for,
Ricky, would you?
Wait, I thought we were denying premise. I thought we were denying them, so we don't have to rewrite them.
What's that?
Yeah, but then like, I think if we. That.
if that's how it's also, it's okay.
With discussion from the staff, we'd like to recommend that, in the meantime, to figure out exactly what the different avenues would be, depending on if you vote to accept findings of fact and deny it, or vote to deny the variance, to table the order, so discussion can be done with the city attorney to figure out, the what to be communicated, depending on how the board reacts and votes.
I'd be open to that.
I don't want to take.
That is our suggestion.
No, I think it's pretty plain with the issue, it's from my perspective.
Yeah, but look, okay, if it's a denied, it's gonna be appealed, and that's gonna be partially based on. Okay, this is what I think. I think we do need to make findings of fact in support of our decision to deny, because that's what the judge is going to be looking at.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
You have a love to read it.
Yeah. We're looking to you.
I already stated on finding of fact number one, the variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, or the rights of adjacent property owners or residents because, and it doesn't finish that statement, but we've already heard from 3 residents, plus we have it documented on paper, plus I'm sure that, Justin, Mr. Logic, I'm sure that his was entered into the record because he read it at the podium.
And I also submitted them to the Board of Planning and to the Board of Zoning Appeals last week as well.
Yeah, and so the applicant is saying there will be the same standard as the other neighbors. There has not been the same standard as the other neighbors. And again, I say, is this sober living? Standard number 2, is that,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So for the first finding of fact, would you like to amend it in any particular way?
Well, that it hasn't been met.
This is what I would propose.
okay, go ahead.
For a finding of fact. We only need one for the first one.
Right,
So what I would say is that the denial is based on finding that granting this ordinance would adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare, or the rights of adjacent property owners or residents because of increased congestion and activity in a neighborhood that is already high density and high congestion. And also in light of submissions from public comment.
That's what I would add that last part.
mhm.
And then more
Which are
generally,
part of, I guess, part of the record.
and then just more.
I guess we could incorporate by reference
The first course.
the public comment submissions.
John,
So regarding the first finding of fact, suggested granting the ordinance would negatively affect the neighborhood due to congestion and additional public comment. Does that sound sufficient with what you're?
Well, no, we would deny the variance based on a finding that if we granted the variance, it would adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare and the rights of adjacent property owners and residents, because it would increase congestion and activity in a neighborhood which is already has a lot of congestion and no available parking.
Right, there's a public safety concern.
And
It's not only the vehicular density congestion, it's also potential impacts on, because it's a pedestrian neighborhood.
Yeah.
Bicycles, pets.
I mean, and then you've got all those people ordering Uber and Grubhub and stuff.
Right.
It's like, those people don't always drive very respectful.
Domino's is just down the way.
You want.
All right, so I would move to approve that finding, I guess,
Yeah, I agree.
the amended findings of fact.
And then if you want, just more broadly speaking, the applicant hasn't demonstrated that the nature of this operation can meet the same standard expected of other property owners and residents.
Or meet the same standard run by existing establishments of sober living. Like the same, like space, external space, parking space, like that. I think that's pretty evident.
Okay, where are we at? We got it.
Sorry, I think I just stick with what Matt said.
Are you gonna, why don't you read back whatever we have for the finding of fact?
The rationale for denial, findings of fact one, granting the ordinance would negatively affect the neighborhood due to the congestion and additional public comment from members of the community. And then mid-writing, property owner has not established sufficient standards.
Hasn't demonstrated
Hasn't
that
demonstrated.
what's proposed operationally, he'll be able to meet the required standard.
Yeah.
Has not demonstrated that they can meet the standard,
Yeah.
expected standard.
Expected of other.
I hate using the word like standard because we haven't defined standard. Without defining
It's
standard,
in
what is?
code, though.
Oh, standard code.
Isn't it
Code
it's in
standard.
code?
The three parking, off-street parking spaces would be the standard.
Okay.
Is that what you're
I think,
referencing? Okay.
well, I think we're referencing multiple uses of the word standard, so glad we clarified.
Standards for parking?
Yeah, we want to stick with.
So do we need to go to the, finding of fact number two?
I think it would make sense to go
Oh, just
down
one?
each of
Okay.
them unless
So-
you're denying.
Just to miss that. Do we
Just
need to
that
go with any more, just what?
Well, I mean, a variance is to meet all four, like when you apply for a variance.
Oh, so you're just the first one.
So but we're already saying, yeah, it will,
Okay.
so it's denied because
You got said.
one.
Finding the fact one
No,
Yeah.
that's-
for the
Finding
reason
the
you
fact
just
Have to meet-
mentioned.
Yeah.
Hasn't met the first element of.
Okay, we can stop there. It's like, yeah.
We have to be able to approve all findings of fact.
Yeah.
And that's not the case.
Yeah.
All right, so
It would make sense then, since referencing the finding of fact and having that kind of amended in that way to vote on it, motion it, second it, to be that's the rationale and reasoning behind it.
okay, so
I motion we accept the updated findings of fact, or we. With Matthew's provisions and the agreed upon provision. Well, the agreed upon team's provisions. The provisions as laid out. I think we accept those revised findings of fact.
second,
Findings of fact, revised denial, accepted by DeWitt, seconded by Benison.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 So we've accepted the findings of fact. But given the amended language with regard to the first finding of fact, I move to deny the requested variance.
A second.
Do we have a motion to deny based on the change in the language to the first finding of fact, how do we vote? Aye.
Aye.
Well, are we voting to deny it or?
We're voting, I deny.
Okay, I. Thank you.
So I have not granted your variance, I'm sorry.
I appreciate your time and discussion.
So you will receive written notification from planning. This can be appealed to the Circuit Court of Montague County. And all parties concerned. You know, if you decide to undertake work during the appeals. You do figure for financial risk. So I'm sorry, but thank you for coming down this evening.
Additional notice, the letter will be sent out within roughly 7 business days, and then that window of, for appeal is 30 days after the letter received. So just to put that into the record as well.
Thanks, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Support the work of the principal.
So we have covered all the agenda items for this evening. Announcements from staff.
No, announcements other than, there are obviously, just based on this meeting alone, but additional, variances for the next regular hearing. So there will be plans to have that next hearing. Additionally, the meeting minutes from the last hearing as well as this one, should be available by then to be voted on as well. As a part of the standard beginning process. Otherwise, there's no additional, announcements by staff.
I move to adjourn.
Second.